I consider Charlie Kirk's murder a uniquely American thing. And that's because it grows out of a set of circumstances that are very specific to the United States. My name is Jacob Ward. I have a Substack and a podcast called The Rip Current that looks at big invisible forces, and guns are something I think about a lot. There is a set of problems here in the United States that other countries have solved, and we somehow are powerless to change what we need to change. And I want to explain what I'm talking about. So in 2016, I took a trip to Tanzania as part of a documentary crew. And on the way back to the airport at the end of our trip, we watched a group of people spill out of two buses on a highway. And these two bus drivers got into this fight. And all these people gathered around. As Americans, we were panicked. Like, you could just, as any American knows, there's a moment when it's time to leave the bar, leave the football game, leave the party, because something bad is about to happen. We just know that in our bones. And in this case, we were all feeling it. And I was looking around as more and more people pile onto the highway to watch these two guys fight. And these two cops are like walking away. They're not getting involved. And I just think, we are not safe here. And the driver turns around and says to us, "Don't worry, Americans, there are no guns here." And when I was traveling in that country, I went to a gun store in Arusha, the capital city of Tanzania. And it was the only gun store in that capital city. It was the only gun store there. We went in, and the guy very sort of reluctantly showed us the handful of guns that were on offer. And I asked him, "Can anybody come in here and buy a gun?" And he said, No. The requirements are incredibly strict. You need permission from the police, your neighbors, a doctor, a psychiatrist, and the gun has to be registered to the government with a serial number that you cannot alter. And anytime you're going to buy more ammunition or buy another gun, you got to go through the whole process again. Tanzania is a place that is actually dangerous. There are lots of predators in the natural environment that can kill you and that you would want to shoot. And multiple of the neighboring nations are literally at war. And yet that's how hard they made it to buy guns there. And to my mind, what I think about when I think about the moment that we're in, where President Trump is openly talking about just ignoring the First Amendment and silencing critics and journalists and political opponents in the name of fighting some sort of political violence that he thinks originates from progressive politics. What I would say is, all over the world, there are people who hate one another enough to want them to die. But only here in the United States, where we are the world leader in gun ownership. There are more guns in the US than there are humans breathing, than there are American citizens breathing. Only here in the United States do we make it as easy to act on our violent impulses as we do. So while we might debate endlessly about how social media and political discourse and polarization in this country led to the death of Charlie Kirk, I would just point out that fundamentally it was a firearm. That's what killed him, and that's a solution. That's a problem that we can absolutely solve if we can get our act together about it.